Okay, welcome to our program here on Inside Bicol. And tonight we have a special guest, the former governor of the province of Ifugao. He's an IP champion, also a member of the Kaya Natin, and also the chairman of the National Cultural Communities, also the vice chairman of the Natural Resources Committee and other committees of the House of Congress. We're very lucky because he has given us this opportunity to be a guest on our program here on Inside Bicol. So let me now introduce to you our guest. Our guest for tonight is Congressman Teddy Browner Baguelat. Welcome, Congressman, dito sa aming programa sa Inside Bicol. Kami nasasayahan na despite ng busy schedule mo, you gave us this opportunity na makausap. Alam ko na yung IP, yung indigenous people, isa yan sa malaking bagay dito sa amin, especially dito sa Bicol. Maraming mga indigenous people din dito. And I'm sure na masasayahan sila malaman kung ano naman ang mga advocacy. Okay. But siguro we'll start with, we'd like to give you the opportunity to mag-greet naman ang viewers namin. We have viewers on the selected cable companies. We're also on the internet, kaya nakikita kami, napapanood sa ibang bansa. So, I'll give you the opportunity to greet ang viewers namin.
Well, good evening muna, Fred, and good evening to all the viewers and listeners to Inside Bicol. I'm very much privileged to visit Naga City and to meet with our fellow IPs here in the Bicol region. Coming from Ifugao, it's really a very far place, from this province, but tonight, I'm very, very privileged to be here.
Okay. So, alam mo, Congressman, when we hear the word Ifugao, the first thing that comes to our mind is yung mga rice terraces, di ba?
Yeah.
Sagada, these are the places na, in fact, I know that this part of one of the wonders, di ba? Sabi nga nila, kaya I'm sure they're familiar. But siguro gusto rin namin na malaman na you're part of this particular province, and did you grow up there? Ano ba yung tell us a little about your school days maybe?
Okay. Well, I was born in Manila. My father is a pure-blooded Ifugao. And then they migrated with my mother who was from Nueva Vizcaya to Manila. Lahat kami pinanganak doon, kami magkakapatid. But when I was 12 years old, something beckoned to me to discover my roots. Because my papa would always bring me to Ifugao every vacation time. And so parang I fell in love with the simplicity of the rural life in Ifugao. And so when I was 12, I told my parents that I'd like to study in Kiangan, the birthplace of my father. Initially, they were against it because city boy, sino mag-aalaga sa akin dun sa Ifugao. But my grandparents, they said, yeah, we would like to take our grandson. So I went to Ifugao. At that time, there was no electricity, walang maid, walang TV, walang mga hotdog, So I had to learn how to eat vegetables. I had to learn household chores, and it was a very beautiful experience. I call it my leap of faith. Kasi kung hindi ako nagdesisyon, nagpasya na pumunta ng Ifugao, I don't think I'd be here right now as a congressman, as a public servant of my province.
Okay. What are some of the things that you still remember as far as your try to describe to us yung Kiangan, yung bayan mo. How big is that in terms of population? Then what about the transport? How long does it take, let's say from Manila to go to your town?
At that time, the roads weren't concrete, weren't paved. There was, as I said, there was no electricity. Kiangan is a mountain in a mountainous area. It's a small, quaint town. That's how I described it. Everybody knows each one. The climate is not as cold as Baguio City, but also very cool, not very hot. So it's very ideal as far as I'm concerned when it comes to agriculture, when it comes to tourism, no? Dahil napakaganda ng lugar, maraming mga sapa, mga waterfalls, mga kuweba, mga rice terraces. And there's a lot of cultural practice in the community. Kahit na karamihan sa tao doon sa Ifugao, sa Kiangan ay mga Kristiyano na, either Catholic or with other religious sects, they still practice their traditional practices, no? Yung mga kaugalian ng aming mga ninuno. No? And so that's how I learned about how I would call it original Filipino culture. No? Our songs and our dances, no? Our traditions and our rituals. No? And I guess that has influenced me in my public life, no? As a chief executive of our place, no? In trying to promote indigenous traditional knowledge of the people of Ifugao.
Okay. What are some of the, how do you describe yung Ifugao tribe? Let's say comparing it with other tribes. Ano bang mga differentiation yan? I mean, what are some of the traits perhaps?
Ifugao is one of the oldest tribes in the Philippines. They're very popular for having built the rice terraces, no? The world famous Ifugao rice terraces. By nature, we're very clannish, not so tribal, but clannish. Our traditional religion is animistic. We have very, very strong family ties. In the olden days, our forefathers used to engage in tribal wars. They were a head-hunting warrior tribe, no, in the olden days. But these days, we're very, very peaceful. Ifugao is one of the most peaceful provinces in the Philippines. Right now, while some of the younger generations are, of course, assimilating the modern technology, pop culture, but at least in my town in Kiangan and in the entire province, we still have a significant number of the younger generations who feel that culture, the traditions of our forefathers are important in their lives, and they still practice it. Yung mga dances, yung mga kanta, yung mga chants.
What about yung burial practice? Di ba dati meron
yung burial practice, pinapausukan pa noon, right. Umuupo yung namatay, tapos ilang araw na paglalamayan bago ilibing. No? But syempre, ngayon, meron na tayong mga sanitation standards, so pinagbawal ng Department of Health. So we have to follow the modern technique of burial. No? But at least yung rituals associated with burials, andun pa rin. And it's also our practice that usually after 5 years, after we have interred the relative, and then after 5 years, we exhume the body, we clean the bones. No? Dahil malakas ang paniniwala namin na pag hindi namin lilinisan, no, yung katawan ng aming mga ninuno, ng mga relatives namin, gaganti yung mga galit yung kaluluwa. No? And any of the family members might get sick or ill fortune, no, might visit the family. So after 5 years, palagi nangyayari yun. No? Titawag namin na bugwa. No? And sometimes it becomes a debate in the society because according naman sa Christianity, no, once the person dies, no, diretso na sa langit yung kaluluwa, no, at yung katawan is left behind, no, it becomes earthly remains. But for the Ifugaos, hindi, mahalaga pa rin yung katawan ng kanilang kamag-anak. So they have to take care of the body and clean the bones. So yun, nagkakaroon ng mga debate minsan.
Right, okay. Now, what about the mountain, yung rice terraces? How were you able to maintain it? No?
It's very, very difficult. No? Kasi aside from the climatic changes, no, na humahaba na yung period of drought, tapos tubig-tindi na rin yung ulan, and that has led to high hastened erosion, collapse of the rice terraces walls. We have problems with the lack of water sometimes, no? And we have also some pestilence, no? Dumadami na rin po yung mga peste doon, mga titawag giant earthworms, no? Gigantic earthworms. There's also the phenomenon of abandonment. Many of the younger generations, yeah, they're going out of Ifugao, no? Seeking greener pastures, because sa rice terraces, while it's very beautiful, no, it attracts tourists, but you can only harvest rice once a year. And so hindi sapat yung kabuhayan, and that's why
Oh.
many of them they'd rather go to the lowlands where you can harvest 3 times a year, where you can be employed no in office work, no. So I think that's the major challenge right now, no, while we still promote it as a tourism site, at the same time it's our source of food. But marami po sa aming mga kababayan po ang maalis na.
How did they build that, the rice terraces? Paano paggawa nila yan?
That is, to me, the greatest mystery, no, of the
Right.
Ifugao civilization.
Oh.
Kasi bare hands and crude tools.
Yeah. Bare hands, yeah.
And they had a very deep understanding of science, of natural science, because alam nila kung saan magandang magtanim, no? If you look at the rice terraces, hindi naman yung buong bundok may rice terraces, because accordingly they only chose certain sites where the sunlight is optimum throughout the entire day.
Okay.
So alam nila yon, and then alam nila kung saan manggagaling yung irrigation. So we wouldn't build here because as per our survey, hindi kaya ng mga tributaries or sapa yung tubigan yung rice terraces, no. So they have profound knowledge of science, no?
Yeah, that's probably the reason why it is considered as one of the wonders, di ba?
Yeah.
The world, no, one
Yes,
of the
yes.
wonders.
And it's a World Heritage Site,
Right.
as declared by UNESCO.
It's now, it has
Yes,
been declared,
yes,
no?
yes. Since 1996.
Since 1996,
Yes.
okay.
Yes.
So, how do you describe now the development there in terms of food, availability, and what else? How do you describe the province now that you're in?
In terms of rice, we have the rice terraces, but it's not sufficient.
Okay.
Kasi it's only harvestable every year, once a year, no? So we have to buy from the other provinces. We're quite sufficient sa livestock, yung mga baka, mga kambing and baboy. Naturally, we are not sufficient in fish kasi we are landlocked, no? So we have to get most of our food, fish, rice and corn from neighboring provinces.
Okay.
But Ifugao's by nature before were actually ang aming staple was root crops,
Root
kamote.
crops.
But
Kamote.
naging kaming na Philippinized na kami, so it became rice.
Okay.
Because rice at the time was it was a delicacy. You don't eat it every day. And then you use rice to ferment wine for our rituals.
I see.
So ang amin talagang staple yung kamote.
Kamote.
Yeah.
But that's good for the health.
Yeah, no, but everybody in the Philippines,
They like hamburger.
they eat rice these days.
Okay. Yeah, good. I think we're having here a very good discussion talking about the province of Ifugao. Later on, we'll also talk about the experience of our guest here being a former governor. So, later for a while, we'll be back.